The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, here are a few ways that you can do it. Download the Living Zen podcast app for iPod, iPhone, or Android. You can also purchase additional Zen Talks by Venerable Eshu on iTunes or Amazon.com. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by joining our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online e-Zendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at www.zenwest.ca and click on the membership tab. Thank you for your support. One of the words that I've been hearing used a lot in the context of practice, often as a criticism recently, is maturity, growing up. When I first started practice, one of my teachers said to me that the practice of Zazen is simply the process of reparenting, growing up again. And in our Jukai ceremony, the receiving of the precepts, there is this line that talks about the lifelong process of maturation. This is something that I wanted to talk about tonight in practice. This idea of becoming an adult or growing up or maturing is something that I think many of us struggle with. Some of the words that come up when we talk about maturation, growing up, responsibility, commitment. Maturity isn't something that I think happens sort of in an even line. It's not something that happens across the board in every aspect of our lives. We can become very mature in certain aspects of our life and remain completely childlike in other aspects of our lives. When we take up this practice, as I explain over and over again, one of the fundamental functions of this practice, or one of the fundamental things that develops through practice, is just this ability to be aware, to see. This opportunity to have just the smallest amount of space between what we're doing and our response to it. We are able to see how we're interacting with this world. Instead of just resting on habit or the way that we've always done things, we create this space to witness this awareness. I think that a lot of people hope, maybe think, that maturity, growing up, is something that we just do once. That maybe in relationship, if we can grow up and be mature, then we will start to have mature relationships. But this isn't so much my experience. Each of us has as our capacity this ability, this potential to go in any direction almost at any time. Sometimes a situation will arise and we are able to meet it, to accept the responsibility for our conduct, for our behavior, for our action, we're able to meet it wholeheartedly, to embrace it, and to respond accordingly. And sometimes a similar situation arises and we are not up to it. Maybe we're feeling some fear, some anxiety, we're distracted. And instead of catching it, instead of embracing it, we kind of bounce, we react, we fall back to habits, and we respond immaturely. So one of the ways that we can investigate our practice and the way that we are going about our lives is to ask, how do I manifest? How do I respond to this situation that's arising in my life? How am I meeting this? Sometimes things arise that are difficult, uncomfortable, unpleasant. Sometimes things arise that are just plain a lot of work, and we don't want to do it. And if we pay attention, listen to our voices inside, sometimes we can actually hear both the child and the adult. I don't want to. Oh, just be quiet and get to work. I don't want to. In each moment of our lives, we have this opportunity to embrace maturity, to embrace the responsibility that each of us has as a human being. And further, in this school of Buddhism, Zen, we can understand that this thing that we call Buddha, which means the one who is awake, is nothing other than being awake to the responsibility, to the capacity, to the potential of what it is to be a human being. We are capable, we have as our potential this limitless function. And whenever we're scared, whenever we're worried, we tend to limit ourselves. We say, I can't, or I couldn't, or I don't. When a situation arises that is difficult, we tend to want to hole up and not to open to the capacity, to our own capacity, to our own potential, to our true nature as one who is awake. And this practice that we engage in is fundamentally aimed at opening up our eyes, opening up our hearts to the responsibility of what it is to be a human being, to be a Buddha. Most of our lives we don't see it. And often when we see it, we don't accept it. We say no. No, I'm just this. I'm just that. I can't. And this practice that we engage in, this simple matter of sitting, paying attention to what's unfolding in front of us, this activity, allows us to develop the courage, the strength, and the commitment to accept in more and more aspects of our lives this tremendous responsibility. This tremendous responsibility of being a Buddha. So as we go forward in practice, please, as you go forward in your relationships and in your work, use this practice that we develop together to listen. To listen to these voices that arise. To hear the I don't wanna. To hear what needs to be done. The bodhisattva that we have on the Butsudan is Avalokiteshvara, is the name. And this name means the one who hears the cries of the world. And we do these prostrations, and when we offer incense on the Butsudan, I think people often wonder, what's that about? Is it some kind of idol worship? But these bodhisattvas, Buddhas, they're not outside. They are physical manifestations or representations of our own nature. The bodhisattva of compassion, the one who hears the cries of the world, is not outside, but inside. Inside of each and every one of us. When we do these prostrations, we are simply letting go, dissolving this limited, immature, I don't wanna self. To hear, to genuinely hear the cries of the world, to accept the responsibility to respond is a big responsibility. But in the end, we are all human beings. We are all bodhisattvas. We are all fundamentally Buddhas. So whether we want to accept our responsibilities or not, our practice is to awaken, not to turn away, but to turn into and accept responsibility for our lives.
Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.